Under the weight of weekend snow, roofs on a dairy barn and a home in southern Jefferson County gave way. Tonight, we see the damage and hear what was lost, including some farm animals. Here's 7 News reporter Gage Kilborn.
Metal sheets being tossed in dumpsters after the Rudman Ranch had its dairy barn's roof collapse Sunday night.
At first, I looked down and I thought, the snow had just brought some sheet metal with it as it slid off the roof. And I ran down and the whole entire roof of the barn had collapsed on top of everything.
Emily Rudd was the first to see the dairy barn come crashing down. In addition to losing the barn, vehicles and farm equipment were damaged, and the Rudds believe at least 20 cattle died when the barn roof fell down.
Seeing the cattle suffering is nothing I want to ever see again.
Besides the Rudd family, Alexis Gordon also saw her home come crumbling down over the weekend due to the 4 to 5 feet of snow that the roof took in, which she thought was a devastating sight.
It was heartbreaking to watch everything just crumble in front of us. It was honestly it broke us. We cried. We weren't expecting anything like this to happen.
Gordon has been living at the home with her boyfriend for the past couple of years, slowly making renovations. She and her boyfriend were in the home and heard creaking before seeing the roof fall down, separating their living room and kitchen. She calls this experience eye-opening.
It's definitely a life-changer experiment to have the snow come down and not expect it. And it's so sudden. It was like, I've seen it happen over the years, but never would have expected to be us.
The Mennonites have been helping the Rudds fix their barn, and Alexis Gordon is hoping the community will help her find a new place to live. Gage Kilborn, 7 News.